Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, professor of physics at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, USA. And I hope wherever you are in the world, you've had a good week. And I want to thank you for spending a few minutes with me each week to think about what to look for in the night sky. This week, we're going to be talking about the week of January 17. So we've made it to the third full week of January. And we're going to pick up with something that we talked about last time. So we've done that. We've wrapped back and forth. The planets are just great right now. I mean, just great. Going out and seeing the planets in the evening sky. Jupiter and Saturn we've been watching, and we had Venus there, and it's now wrapped around to the morning sky. I think you can see it this week. I really do. If not by the beginning of the week, then by the end of the week. So that's what we have on the board over here, is to say by now, a couple of weeks ago, I tweeted a picture of Mars and Antares in Scorpius, the whole head of Scorpius in the morning sky. So by now, a couple of weeks later, this should be really, really easy for most people to pick out if you're up before dawn in the morning sky. So this rises enough before the sun. You'll see orange Antares, a nice bright star, a first magnitude star. Remember, star brightness is measured in magnitudes. It counts backward so that a second magnitude star is fainter than a first magnitude star, and it's a factor of 2.5 with each step, so that the first magnitude star is 2.5 times brighter than the second magnitude star. First magnitude is a pretty bright star. So you've got a bright orange Antares, 17 degrees off to the left, off to the east of Antares is Mars. Also orange red. So you got these two red objects. Your fist held out at arm's width is about 10 degrees. At arm's length like that, your fist width is about 10 degrees. So it's about 2 fist widths or a little less than 2 fist widths from Antares. So you should see these two orange red glowing dots in the morning sky, separated by a couple of fist lengths out there like that. When you go out an hour before sunrise, 30 minutes before sunrise, you're starting to get the glow of the sun there a little bit, but it hasn't overwhelmed what you're seeing, and you'll see this. Now, you'll also see what I call the head of the scorpion out here. So there's Antares. If that's 17 degrees, this is about 7.5 degrees, so less than half that distance. You've got these 4 stars that mark the head of Scorpius. These 2 stars are particularly bright. I find that star brighter than this star. So sometimes I only see these 3 main stars and then a fainter star down here below. And so Scorpius comes on and does a sweep like that. Hard for me to see right now where I am. It needs to be a little bit later in the year when it gets a little bit higher. But then, you may not live as far north as I do. If you don't, congratulations on that. It's really going to help you out for the other thing we're looking at in the evening sky. So anyway, if you continue on about the same distance to the east, further on, now you're getting close to the sun, right? So you want to wait a little later in the morning for this to happen. Is Venus. Venus will have popped out into the morning sky. It will be a bright white dot coming out of that orange glow of the sun. So give that a try this week. Early in the week, that distance is about the same. Venus is moving so quickly against the background stars that by the end of the week, you will have noticed that this distance will be less than this distance. And by the end of the week, let's say Friday the 21st or so, it should be a lot easier to see Venus. I think you can see Venus all week. It's rising about an hour and a half, a little less than an hour and a half before the sun at the beginning of the week, and more than an hour and a half before the sun at the end of the week. And as bright as Venus is, it can be grabbed out of that background glow of the sun relatively easy, much easier than Mars was back when it was really close to the glow of the sun earlier in the year. At the end of last year. So this is what you want to see it look for. That's for those of you who are early risers. You get up before the sun comes up, before it's light outside. Go out, look to the east, to the southeast. If you live in the northern hemisphere like I do, look to the southeast and look for Antares, Mars, and Venus in the morning sky. Now, if on the other end, if you're out in the evening sky, it's gotten dark, just after dark, all the way through past midnight, you should have a pretty good view over here of Canis Major. So we're talking about Canis Major here. It sits below the feet of Orion. So if you know Orion, if that's a constellation you're familiar with, you look below Orion and back to the east. And so you've got a little bit to the left of Orion, and below it, you've got the brightest star in all of the sky is Sirius. Sirius, the dog star, is the brightest star in the sky. So you'll see that big, bright, glowing blue-white object right there. Next to it, about 5.5 degrees off to the west is Mirtsam, the announcer. It's known. That's from Arabic. The announcer is Mirtsam, 5.5 degrees, going to be about half a fist width that we talked about here. Now, Mirtsam itself is a very bright star. It's brighter than second magnitude. Any stars that are second magnitude or brighter, we think of as pretty bright stars. The kind of stars you would walk out into the night sky and look up and say, wow, isn't that a nice bright star, right? And so that's what we're talking about here. It's a good bright star in the south, for those of us this far north, below the feet of Orion, just behind Orion, moving across the sky, sometimes depicted as Orion, this hunting dog. This is the Dog Star Sirius, so this is the dog that's walking along with Orion as he hunts. Now, about the same distance, 5.5 degrees, really more like 4 degrees, so a little bit less, is M41, is an open star cluster. So if you've got a small telescope, you might be able to see it with binoculars. I suspect you can, especially if you've got good wide optics on your binoculars. M41 is an open star cluster. Remember, open star clusters are groups of a few to a few hundred typically, maybe up to a few thousand for the very big ones. Stars that were born out of the same cloud of gas at the same time. They live in the disk of our Milky Way galaxy. So this is one of those that's here in Canis Major, worth a look, sitting just below Sirius like that. Do a little triangulation to see if you can find it and zero in on it with your binoculars or your telescope that way. It's something really good for you to look at. Further south, on down the bottom of this constellation, so Sirius, Canis Major has a string of other stars along this direction that you can probably see until you get down here about 11 degrees south of Sirius is Wazan, the weight. And remember, we get a lot of our information, this is Arabic again, and we get a lot of our information from Hinckley's, Richard Hinckley Allen's star names right here. And what he would say is the weight is likely because it's so hard to get above the horizon, right? It's so far south. So this is a measure of how well you can see how far, if you're just 10 degrees, I'm living at about 43 degrees north latitude. If you're living just 10 degrees further south, about 33 degrees north latitude, this is going to be much, much easier for you to see than it is for me. I can do it, but it's a little bit harder. It never gets very far above the southern horizon for me. I really have to have a good southern horizon on a dark night to be able to see this. Also brighter than second magnitude star, but it doesn't look that bright to me because I'm looking through so much atmosphere looking down to the south that way. And then off this direction, just a few degrees, is Adhara. And so we have Adhara here, and so the constellation looks something like that, with these two, another brighter than second magnitude star, but oh my goodness, it's south for some of us observers. This is a double star. So this double star is a nice close pairing of stars. If you can see this star, if it's above your southern horizon, you've got your telescope out, your little small telescope, and you're looking at M41, identify this star. Sirius, Mirtsam, Vezan, and Adhara. Boom, 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 boom. And when you get Adhara, point your telescope. Go ahead and slide your telescope down there, and you're going to be rewarded with a really nice double star. But it's a little bit hard to see down in the soup of the atmosphere unless you live a little bit further south. So that's what we got for you this week. Go out in the morning. You get a chance. Look at Antares, Mars, and Venus. A great, great combination of objects in the morning sky. Scorpius rising into the morning sky, announcing the coming of summer. And then go out in the evening and check out Canis Major and all that Canis Major has to offer. I hope you have a great week, everybody. Hope you have clear skies, and we'll have something new for you next week. Thank you.